Hi, this is Greg Weeks for Graphics Programming Assignment 2. So let's just jump right into the first question here. It's relatively straightforward, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Alright, so this is pretty much the only thing that I modified here, making sure that the inner triangles here were set to yellow, and that the vertices on the edges were set to lime, red, blue, and magenta, so that we get that nice gradient in between. And yeah, that was pretty much laid out in the example already. I just had to change the actual geometry. So on to the second question. This was a bit trickier because I actually had to layer the vertices on top of one another to get the solid colors here. And as you can see, there's significantly more vertices in the simple vertex. Yeah, to be honest, the hardest part of this particular question was just getting all the winding correct. I had to label all of these and make sure that I was doing it correctly and following a consistent pattern. See, that was kind of annoying, but I got the right results, so let's move on. Alright. Okay, so in this particular question, we've swapped the color and the position in simple vertex. So I realize there's two ways to approach this. Well, it's pretty much just one way, but I landed on these two lines of code before I even touched the .hlsl file. So yeah, let's just jump into it real quick. Alright, so the shape is actually drawing, and I realized that I could swap out color and position here, and then swap these two lines as well. And both of these things will achieve the same effect because they're intrinsically linked to one another. See, the shape is still drawing itself. Yeah, because this is like the actual buffer and the information that's being sent to the actual shader file. So the shader data here is defined by this buffer. Yeah, so swapping either one of those will work. Alright, let's move on to question 4. Let me just demonstrate that it's working correctly. Alright, so I'm hitting mouse down, changing all the colors, mouse up, and we're swapping back. Okay, so I pretty much just follow along with the lecture slides to actually create the constant buffer here. Yeah, so this is relatively straightforward, at least in this part. So we're creating the buffer here, and then to actually update when I'm pressing the mouse down, we're like actually redefining these values here, and then updating these sub-resource. So I do that on mouse up as well. Alright, so mouse down, it updates, change the colors to lime and magenta, mouse up, back to yellow and red. Alright. Okay, so for the further questions, the difference between a constant buffer and a shader constant, so I kind of touched on it here. So the constant buffer contains a shader constant, and the shader constant is what's used in the shader file here. And this is representative of the constant buffer. So yeah, so creating, where's the buffer? Okay, so this buffer just contains the shader constants, and it's like a more efficient way to actually schlep it into the .hlsl file and send it to the graphics card. Yeah, so that's the reason why swapping these achieves the same effect, because it's all part of the same buffer and data collection. Okay, so let me just run this real quick. So this question is about why the background does not apply the shader. Yeah, so I use a different shape just to see how this is affecting the actual geometry. So I realize that the shader does affect the object that we're creating here, but it doesn't affect the background. And my educated guess is that the background color is just a color, and it doesn't actually have a shader applied to it. So it's a completely separate entity from the actual geometry that we're creating, and the geometry is defined by these positions here in the vertex data. So the background doesn't have any vertex data, so there would be no way to actually affect the oh no, it doesn't have pixel data, sorry. So it doesn't have any pixel data, it just has a color, so there's no way to affect the color on the background, or at least it doesn't have pixel data that we can access through the shader file itself. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to actually modify the background as we have it right now. At least I didn't find anything on Microsoft. So yeah, that's my explanation, and that's all my work. So I'll see you in class. Bye.